Lasting Tales. So during the Lasting Tales Kickstarter, many of us who had already owned Dungeons and Lasers terrain recommended that for the buildings and whatnot of Lasting Tales. But if you've when you were on the Dungeons and Lasers campaign, it may be a bit complicated to know what you actually wanted to get. So what I did is I went into the demo of the Lasting Tales Kickstarter and looked up the setup as to what you actually want. And what they recommend, and assuming that this is how a typical scenario is, we have 4 buildings. And they suggest building, barn, ruin, forge, marketplace, or other suitable feature. So these are just generic buildings or such. And the building is going to be 4 inches wide by 6 inches long, which means that each of these 4 buildings will be the size of 6 game tiles. And as examples of what buildings you can build, ta-da, with the Dungeons and Lasers, I have on this side the a ruins based on the fantasy core set, and on the right side, this is actually the cursed cathedral. Although I'm going to be pointing to you towards 2 other building rooms. The only reason why I'm showing this here is that the other buildings that I'm going to rooms that I'm going to recommend have not been made yet. So anyway, once you decided on your pledge, you're going to want to have the village pledge. And the village pledge has you choose a core set, of which you're going to want the fantasy core set. And then you're going to want to have 3 rooms. I recommend the Wooden Cottage, Tudor Mansion, and the roof set. The reason being that with Lasting Tales, I believe we have 3 environments. One of them a dungeon, which is perfectly well done with the fantasy core set. And then a settlement one, which is serviced better by the Wooden Cottage and Tudor Mansion than it is with the Cursed Cathedral. Although I do like the Cursed Cathedral a lot, as you saw in my other video. The rooms do not come with doors or roofs, so you will want to have a roof set. The roof set, one roof set will cover approximately 2 rooms. So what do you actually get? In the fantasy core set, you will get a fair amount of stuff. 27 double-sided walls, 14 long double-sided walls, 12 long floor tiles, and 18 floor tiles. And when you translate this to Lasting Tales, it means you can build 6 of these structures. Well, without this top over here, build 6 of these structures, and maybe, for the demo, you'll have 2 ruins, and then you can top it off with some extra stuff, which doesn't have any gameplay effect, but looks really nice. Meanwhile, the other rooms, which are the Tudor Mansion and the Wooden Cottage, they will both have 6 double-sided walls, 3 long double-sided walls, 3 long floor tiles, and 3 floor tiles. For those of you who have been observing the numbers, it contains about, the core set has about 4 times as much stuff as an individual room. What I noticed when you tried to build the 6x4 rooms buildings for Lasting Tales, you could come up with 1.5 buildings with an entire room set. Now, after you build this is the stone cursed cathedral over here, but when you actually make your Tudor Mansion or Wooden Cottage, you're going to want to have a roof set. The roof set has 8 basic, 4 concave, and 8 convex corners, which will cover 20 tiles. And as you can see, each building is 6 tiles large, so a roof set should be pretty good for making at least 2 buildings. So that's the village pledge that you will be picking up. It consists of the fantasy core set, the roof set, and the Wooden Cottage and Tudor Mansion. But you probably also noticed all the add-ons. Now, with the clip system, you're going to want to get the Connector 2nd Edition. The Village Pledge comes with a set of it, but since this is only about $5 US, you're going to want to have all these extra clips so that you make sure to make your buildings. As I said earlier, the rooms do not come with a roof or doors, so you'll want to pick up another $5 set. This is the Woodhaven doors. The Woodhaven doors have a wooden cottage and a Tudor Mansion set of doors specifically for those sets. And you can use the Royal Castle and Stone Tower for your fantasy core set doors. Now, another popular add-on, because of the value, is the first edition Stretch Goals Complete. This set of stretch goals also contains science fiction elements. So if you have, say, Imperial Assault or another science fiction board game, you can use these bits in those other games for bling and whatnot. What's important about the first edition stretch goals is that they have stairs. And in fact, it has two sets of this sort of stairs, and it has one spiral staircase. For those of you in the hobby, they could already tell you that each stairs that purchased individually, you can pay like $5 or more through with miniatures. The first edition stretch goals is a really good bargain. The second one that everyone likes is the Fantasy Stretch Goals Second Edition. So this one contains a huge number of fantasy related, and it's only fantasy related items. And I've highlighted, well, what actually makes hobby enthusiasts really happy with plastic: rock. These there's at least 3 piles of rock that you can use in your ruins in order to indicate that they're all really ruins. Another piece that I noticed was pretty good was the balustrades. And these will basically take your 2-story buildings and will keep your miniatures from falling off because they now have railings. You can also use this railing on the first floor and use it as a fence in order for your fancy places to keep away the plebeians. The price tag of €8 is a little bit on the high side compared to, say, the stretch goal items, so it's not as popular as they are. The buildings that are recommended are, of course, made of wood, and you will want to have some stairs. As I pointed out, the stretch goal 1 already has some stone stairs, but to pick up some wooden stairs, you're going to want to pick up this pack. Even though the center of the illustration suggests that this is only for one building, note that there's 2 of the stair parts and 2 of the landing platforms, so you can sort of get away with using one stair set for 2 buildings. So those are the items that I suggest the most when you're making your purchase. You'll notice that rapid delivery is going to be one of your shipping options. What this means is that items that have been made in earlier Kickstarters can be shipped in the first wave. And those items are going to be, for example, the Fantasy Core Set and both the Stretch Goals 1 and Stretch Goals 2. If you do get the additional stretch goals with the Fantasy Core Set, I highly recommend rapid delivery because you are going to get a huge amount of stuff for your terrain hobby. And it's better to break it up into 2 shipments so that you can get your painting done rather than get everything all at once. So that's pretty much it. That's the summary of what you should be getting for your Lasting Tales terrain. Again, it's the Village Pledge. Pick up the Fantasy Core Set, and then pick up for the 3 rooms the Roof Set, Wooden Cottage, and Tudor Mansion. You don't have to, let's see, get the Connectors Second Edition. Pick up some Woodhaven doors. And after that, highly recommend getting the stretch goals for how much stuff you get. You may want to have a set of stairs. And you may want to have this pronunciation so that your miniatures don't fall off from the second floor.